Hi, I'm Nathan Oakley, and I'm going to do an immediate shout out to my show, which is going to be going live in a couple of hours' time with Subtle Infinity before I lose my entire audience. So, hopefully, you remember that little bit of this. If you are a Christian, a Jew, or a Muslim, you're either going to want to switch off now or just to write your comment now to say that I'm a bad person, because frankly, I'll just be ignoring it. I'll leave it up. I don't care either way, because this video is going to be for the smaller percentage of people who move beyond any book. So if you're holding any other book as well that tells you that God is real and you're about to quote that to me in the comment section, feel free, knock yourself out. I probably won't even read it. But as I say, this video is definitely not for you. Just switch off now. This video is going to be for the next percentage of people that have moved beyond being told what God is by some book written by some people. And I'm going to address a few more commenters that I know I'm going to get already. You know, if you're a Christian, which is going to be 90% of the people who comment on this video and say I'm wrong, you know, your book that you hold as the highest, in the highest esteem has got the name of a king on it. So forget any comment that you have in regards to being told what a king thinks God is, or what his authority, or what he's allowed in terms of what's got into that book. I'm not interested. Same goes for the Quran, same goes for the Torah. Anyway, I'll finally get to who I am addressing, and that's mostly going to be flat earthers, people who have rejected those ideas, understand that we've been deceived on a massive scale. And one of those flat earthers I've recently been introduced to, and it's not his main subject field, but he certainly claims to be a flat earther, John Humanity, I think that's right, who does trans investigations, and yeah, great videos, good fun. Don't necessarily agree with most of what he says, but that's not the point. I've been enjoying his work and enjoying his speculation and enjoying his videos. And in his video most recently, he said the why, and I literally only the day before got in touch and said, you know, I'll paraphrase and add a bit that I didn't say to him, but you know, I've been through performing arts school, and I think I have a why of, if this is true, which I don't necessarily know that it is, why they transgender these guys and girls, prepubescent guys and girls, but I wanted to offer that, and then shock horror, a video comes out with why. I'm not suggesting for 1 second that's anything causally connected, it's just a coincidence, but I'm just saying it's something that I was very interested in, only to find that he makes a video of why they transgender teenagers or prepubescent girls and boys. And his conclusion was that we live in a simulated reality and that God is real, and that's the reason why, and it's the only real conclusion that you can draw. That was his conclusion. And I was, like with a lot of these videos, throwing stuff at the screen going, why? That makes no sense. That makes no sense at all. As far as I'm concerned, there is absolutely nothing self-evident to say that there is a creator. Nothing at all. And if you want to show me rocks, it may be the case that, you know, in the same way a glacier is moving, that the rocks beneath our feet are growing or even living, for all I know. I just don't know. We don't know what's below us, and we don't know what's above us. And that's a pretty big portion of everything, especially if we don't know what everything is. So we don't know. That's the bottom line. We don't know. There is no self-evident truth to me in creation. What I can hear in the background is a baby crying. I know how that baby was created, and I know how I was created, and I know how my mother was created. My grandmother's still alive, so I can go and talk to her, and I know that that goes back further and further. If you want to point to something outside and say that tree means there's a creator, no, that tree means an acorn fell from a previous tree, and so on and so forth. And that is what is self-evident. That to me doesn't point to a creator in the slightest. But every time I ask people the question, well, why do you say there's a creator? They say, it's self-evident. And I shake my head and think, well, okay, there's nothing self-evident to me about there being a creator. And if there's an elite structure, as John Humanity seemed to be pointing out, that wants to give you the impression there's a creator and get people like John to come to the conclusion that they're transgendering children because of Baphomet, okay, that, in my opinion, is the reason that men, the people actually doing it, do it. There's no God. There's no God holding a scalpel doing this to anybody. There is, on the other hand, a whole bunch of evil men. And again, I've got to reference IPS for this, although his answer, his very long, kind of new agey answer to my question, why do you see the self-evident creator, you know, made it onto Dearth. And, you know, thank you very much, you know, deep inside the rabbit hole. Wonderful. I'm really pleased that I got a promotion out of it, but my heart kind of sank when it was a long, convoluted answer, very new agey, to my question of why is there a creator. And like all of them, it was a, well, it's self-evident kind of answer. And I really didn't get that. You know, his description, Tim Osman, and his description of why there is a creator pointed towards there being, I don't want to use the word coincidence, almost like serendipity, or things happening that couldn't be coincidence in the way he described them. Things happening at a universally coherent and convenient way was proof of God, it seemed to me. But there we go. I can't find the exact word that he used, but I'm sure it'll get put in the comments, or I'll put it in myself when I go back and watch it. But yeah, so this video is to address all of the people who use their conspiracy to point towards there being a self-evident creator. I mean, it got slightly worse in the respect that John was actually saying that he had got a further truth from the trans investigations he was doing, and that further truth was that we live in a simulated reality. That obviously the conclusion must be that everything around us is generated by a computer. And again, you know, people will show you quantum locking and tell you about particles that can exist in different places at once, and you go, okay, you know, you've even got CERN that are telling you it's a God particle. You know, to me, that's just the next evolution of the lie that we're being told, even being perpetrated by the exact same people. You know, Dr. Brian Cox works there, but yet some people will hold CERN as some sort of proof of anything, or a concern that the end of the world is coming. Again, it's linked to God and futurism and a death that's imminent, that we're all going to suffer if we don't do something or do not do something. It's just nonsense. And for me, CERN have got no more credibility than NASA. So if you've got the same people perpetrating lies that NASA have produced and standing by them vehemently, you know, I've seen Dr. Brian Cox defend the moon landings till he's blue in the face, quite literally. So that guy, you know, what's his day job? He's telling us that he's finding the Higgs boson and God particle and all this stuff that is essentially produced by multi-billion pound, dollar, euro, whatever, massive amounts of money, inconceivable amounts of money, a bit like rockets, you know, that we're never going to be able to get access to, we're never going to be able to reproduce, giant massive cameras. And whenever you see anything from CERN, the people who are currently producing God particles, or telling us what God particles are, they're the guys that have got a massive camera you can't reproduce, giant underground tunnels that you're never going to be able to reproduce, years and years of predictive programming showing you this stuff, softening us all up to it. And it seems that their explanations and their physics is what we use to, or in some instances, use to quantify the existence of God. You think, well, what a shock. That's not a coincidence that the people telling us about the God particle are the ones that get referenced when people use something beyond a book, a Quran, a Torah, or any other religious text to tell them what's what. You know, well, it must be in, the answers must be in science. Well, for me, not so much. You know, I've done what Stephen, the guest that Barbie McGill had, and I'll put a link to that video, Sex Zombies, in the description below, because he was explaining in that interview that Barbie did that he'd had a mental dump. He'd had to chuck everything out, you know, all of it. And I listened to that and it really resonated with me. I thought, you know what, I'm holding on to all sorts of nonsense that I don't necessarily need. And it doesn't mean to say that when I come against somebody who knows more about the official story on any particular subject, that I feel embarrassed to say, well, I don't know, I'm not going to hang my hat on that being real anymore. You know, DNA being the most recent thing. It seems a bit suspect, that's all I'm saying. So you start to have a look at it and you ask a few questions and people will give you the standard rhetoric, basically. And again, great, if people have got absolute cast iron proof and have seen DNA and can point me in the direction of DNA, wonderful, you know, I'd love to see it. That's something that's not what I've already seen, an artwork with a load of barcode colours. You know, that if that's what DNA is, or a nice, what do you call it, a helix spiral, helical spiral, if that's what you're going to show me to say that this is real, a CGI image of that, then I just can't buy it, even when you're telling me about the acids that are used to manipulate this stuff. Again, especially when further down the road it seems that the conclusions that it's used for come to that of a creator. It just seems bonkers. It just seems like we're all being marched into yet another religion telling us that there's a guy who's standing above our heads telling us exactly what we should and shouldn't do, that we need to be concerned. Don't run amok. We already know it's part of our fibre of every being, of every reasonable non-psychopathic person here. We know, don't run amok, don't stab people, don't kill people, don't steal, don't cheat on your wife. All of the things that these religions tell us, apparently from God, we know instinctively not to do them. So, I don't know. My last thought on it before I round out is to say that for me, personally, feel free to believe whatever you choose. For me, there is no self-evident creator. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you all in the next video.